Welcome to PR Talk, sponsored by the PRSA of Oregon. This is your host, Amy Rosenberg, founder of Veracity and author of A Modern Guide to Public Relations. Help other people find our podcast by subscribing, rating, giving us a review, or sharing on social media. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, guys. Okay, so we are moving on to talk about how to pitch TV. So we're in chapter 7 of the book, I think. And it probably doesn't really matter. Chapter 6. Okay, so this is really detailed, pitching TV. It's not as hard as you think. It's just if you follow the rules, then it might work. So let me tell you the rules. It really has to do with how you pitch and when. So, okay. So you already look at the media etiquette. You're following that for your calls. You have to call TV. You email, and then you call. It's scary, I know. That's why we have the rules. Okay, so it's a little detailed. Okay. Just going to put this down and talk to you. So there's lots of different types of TV you can get. I am talking about just regular news right now. There's other kind of different shows that we will get into a little bit, like morning shows. That's a little different, but regular news. This is like your hometown news when you see it. It could be at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, morning news, like it's all the time. Basically, you're calling the day shift, trying to get the people that work during the day to come out and cover you. Because if you get in the early morning, kind of like, I'll get into all that. But if you get them to cover you earlier in the morning, you can get on more shows. So let's talk about how to do it. First of all, you're pitching something. Don't worry about what it is. We'll get to that. We have some things to pitch, okay? But you are pitching something that is must cover now news. Okay. So it's something that you've created, or an interview opportunity that you've created that could occur like this week or now-ish. So you are going to email it. Now, if you're doing like a photo op, you're going to email it whenever you feel like emailing it, but then you have to email it the day before. Okay. The day before the actual event, whenever you want the news to come or when you want the interview to be. So you email it. You have to call to make sure they received it that day, the day you email it, the day before the event. Call before 2 o'clock. You don't want to call too close to the 5 o'clock news hour because then they're scrambling. But now the news is on at 4, so that's weird. So maybe I'm going to call a little earlier. You call around 2. That's more like, I feel like it's kind of like their dead time. So you call around 2 to make sure they receive the email. And if it's for something for the next day, and you're just super cash and cool. Like, hi, this is Amy. Did you get the thing about the thing happening tomorrow? And they're like, yeah. And it's like, cool. That's it. I mean, unless you feel like pitching. You'll have to read the book. Sorry. Okay. So, and then they got it. Okay. Then that's not it. You have to call again the next day, the day you want the coverage. And the reason why is you're calling in the morning before their morning meeting. This is the most important step, is they have a meeting. Around here in Portland, it's around 9 a.m. And the meeting is where they decide what they're going to cover for the whole day. So you want to call again to make sure that you are going to be discussed in the meeting. So you're, again, kind of super quick and, hi, this is Amy with the da-da. I'm calling about the da-da-da-da happening today. And then they'll be kind of rude and be like, yeah, we got it. It's like, okay, well, and then if I feel like it, I'll say, could you talk about it in the meeting? And then they'll like maybe be rude and say, yeah, or they'll be nice. I don't know. Okay. And then after the meeting, maybe they'll call you, have your phone ready. Or if it's for an event, they might just go and you won't even know. So like if you're in that area, try and go to the event, and then you can like manage TV and be there and try and like organize what's happening so that you can organize your client or try and make sure your client gets covered. I've had that before where I did a whole media event and the other PR person got her client covered first, or was trying to. And I said, first of all, you're my best friend because you're awesome. That's great. But I'm going to get my client in first, and then you can wait your turn because you want your interview first in case there's an earthquake and the press has to leave. Okay. So then that's like if you're doing your event. Okay. So let's talk about these events. And I think I have a whole section on this somewhere, but these are called photo ops. So you're literally organizing like 20 minutes of time for the press to come to it. Because if there isn't like a date or a time, when should the press cover you? So especially for TV, it's like, this is happening, like an unveiling's happening, an unveiling of some art or a groundbreaking, but that's so boring. So we're going to add more to it. This is happening 10 o'clock today. And then they come, then it's over. And then you've got all the stations. That's it. That's all you have to do. So hopefully that helped. I know I'm being kind of weird, but it's just kind of a weird thing to do these calls and to work with TV for a while. It's just been a while for me that I've kind of done this, and I don't do it that much anymore, but like sometimes when I do it and they're kind of rude, it's like, cool. Okay, we're going to do this. I'm just doing my job. So you guys are going to understand how to have a tough skin, especially for TV. So we're going to get into more about how to follow up and whatnot, because there's more to this. Oh, I knew I was forgetting something. Photo ops, 10 a.m. weekdays. You see how that could work. That's when you have to have it because they have their morning meeting at 9, so they can't come at 9. But you can call, you can do your work. Then you leave your call station at 9:30. Get there at 10. Do your little event. And then you're done. Unless it's a Friday. Hi. So last time I left you on a PR cliffhanger saying that unless it's a Friday, you're done with your TV follow-up. So basically, if you have your event on any day during the week, that's not a Friday, and you didn't get all the media to come, you're done with your follow-up. Unless it's a Friday. And another situation I forgot, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But on Friday, then you have the opportunity to get weekend news off of whatever you did on Friday, even if the press didn't come. And so if you, because weekend news, it used to be like a gold mine. It used to be so easy to get weekend TV news because no one was pitching. And that's probably the only reason. But now it's a little harder because there's not as many people working in the news station because there's like shrinking news staff. So now you don't get to get that. But if it's on a Friday they're looking for stories on the weekend, which they are, then you can follow back up on a Saturday morning and see if they will run the footage that you sent. So even if the news didn't come, you have taken all the footage, like you were there, you videoed, you photoed. Even if they didn't come, you sent all this, the goods, the video photo, to the press that didn't come. And maybe they ran it that night. And so then you had your monitoring service check. And then there's just one outlier that didn't cover it, because a lot of markets have 4 TV stations. So let's say 2 TV stations came, one couldn't come, but they liked the idea. So they ran your photos that night. Thank you. And then the next one, the one that you're pitching on the weekend, let's see if you can get them round it out for an A plus, and get them to run whatever on the weekend. And so you just, hopefully, if you've grabbed your footage, you have to send it by 2 p.m. that day, the day you want it to air. So on the weekend, if you're doing an event on the weekend and you want them to come, but they couldn't come out because they don't have a camera person, then you were the camera person, you took the photos and video, then you send it by 2 p.m., maybe earlier, and then you call to make sure they got it. And so that could happen anytime, really. But then it's just great on the weekend because you can call and say, hey, just checking to see that you know that there's footage from an event we had yesterday that you guys couldn't make it out to. Did you get that footage? And on the weekend, they're like more mellow, and they're not as busy. And so they might even chat you up and be like, oh yeah, and blah, blah, blah. So that's nice. And there's normally a shift change. Okay. So then you don't have to look like an ass calling again if you already called Friday. Unless you do look like an ass, because sometimes there isn't a shift change. And then, whoops, you called someone again who might be annoyed, but oh, well, you're just doing your job. Or if you're feeling like, wow, I'm a little overbearing right now, you just need to learn how to like feel it out, read the room, and just drop it. You know what I mean? Like, especially if you're doing your calls and it's like, ooh, there was a terrible accident today. I'm not going to get coverage. Then just stop. Don't call. Hi. So today we are talking about morning shows for TV. So these are pretty great because you can get a ton of coverage from them. And this is like one of the only instances in TV where you will have to plan ahead. So first of all, the morning reporters are what we're talking about, the feature stories on the morning show. So the features reporters, they go out and cover fun things. So you get multiple hits throughout the morning from them. And so they used to cover like events. Now, so I'm recording this during coronavirus time. Maybe they'll be covering events by the time you watch this, but now they're covering things like, an exercise class that might be outside, or maybe it is a restaurant, but we're going to be cooking outside, or a charitable thing that we could show outside. It's coronavirus. So like fun things, right? So you're going to want to pitch them. Drop Dead is probably 3 weeks ahead. So you're going to want to start thinking about pitching them around 6 weeks ahead, at least in my market. So they do. So the features show reporters, the features reporters plan their coverage themselves, typically, unless you're in a really big market, maybe a producer would plan it for them, but find out who that producer is and pitch it. Or pitch the features reporter directly. And they plan ahead because they have to go out live and cover things every morning. So a lot of the good ones are like booked for weeks ahead. So you want to get on their radar about 6 weeks ahead to be safe. And then you're just sneaking in at 3 weeks, basically. You're getting lucky around 3 weeks. And you're going to want to watch their coverage to see what they do in order to pitch them. But you're just going to kind of get your idea out there, get it on the radar, and then realize that they have, they might have to you might be responsible for doing like 5 little live segments with them. So you're going to give them one general idea, but then you're going to have to give them 5 supplemental ideas. And 5's an example. And it doesn't have to be exact. Like just give them like a well-rounded spice of what they could do. So at least 3 ideas, maybe in bullet point form. And make sure all your ideas are not in talking head. So like if you're covering a charity, make sure all like the beneficiaries and the charity feature angle and all that is not just talking heads. Try and think about what they could literally do on TV or show on TV. So an example is, I'm not going to pitch the chef. I'm going to pitch this thing that the chef could make with you, or that the chef could teach you to do. Or for exercise, I'm not just going to pitch this class or this new gym. I'm going to pitch, I'm going to teach you how to do a new thing. Like, the Pilates yoga fusion, whatever that's called, like that. That's kind of new, or there's so many new things with that, right? So these reporters like to get goofy and funny, and make fun of themselves. So and so learns how to do yoga, and like he's like this really overweight guy and stuff. It's like hilarious. Not that we want to laugh at him. It's just they like to make fun of themselves. They like to sometimes they get dressed up too, like in a chef uniform or something. Anyway, so just try and get some morning show coverage. And then actually, here's the thing. Once you book it, you are acting like their producer. So you're going to have to ask for the rundown of the show. And then that means when they're live. When do they go live, the times? You're going to have to try and book all the interviewees or whatever, it's always men that I work with for morning shows. So what he's doing there, like if it's a big trade show, okay, we're going to go to this booth, might not even be an interview, but we're going to show these golf clubs. We're going to show whatever. But it has to be written down. And then you're going to bring your guests ahead of time. So that's on you. So your cheat sheet on your rundown, you can have your guest cell phone number there, but it's going to be live TV. So you have to have your guest there ahead of time, like a half hour ahead. So don't tell the guest, your interviewee, don't tell them the live shot time. Tell them a half hour ahead of the live shot time, but don't have them come a half hour ahead of when the reporter's coming. They come at like 5 a.m. and they can come at 4 a.m. to get set up. And then the show runs from like 5 a.m. to like 9. So if you've got someone coming at 8 for an 8 o'clock interview, their interviews at 8, have them come at 7:30, not 5. And then talk to your guests, make sure they're ready to go. Like, don't make them nervous. Say, this is fun. This is live TV. It's fun. They're funny and just get them ready and fun. But make sure they can speak before you put them on TV. And then you might want to also play hostess. We used to kind of like bring coffee, we would bring coffee and food. We used to bring bagels and like donuts, but nobody eats that anymore. So trying to get creative with this. Okay. Thank you. Hello. Excuse me. Okay, we're going to run through the different titles you will find at a TV station. I think this is just going to make it easier on you. Because I've said, the main person you need to know is the assignment editor. Because I've said, do this, do that, call in the original one on TV when I was talking about timelines. I'm like, call. Okay, what are you calling? Well, it's the assignment editor who mans the desk. You're calling the assignment desk. The assignment desk is the desk. They call it the desk, where the assignment editor and maybe like an assistant sit, and they assign the stories. That's kind of a big deal. So they send out the cameras and all that. So, so you want to pitch that person. Now, they're getting kind of fancy and calling themselves content editors now because, they're online too. So there's that. But like, if you just call and be like, can I have the desk? And you just like talk to whoever answers the desk, that's probably the assignment editor or whatever. But if you want to get like really, sure and specific, you can just ask the desk who the assignment editor is, and they'll say, well, I'm covering the desk right now. Yeah. So it's cool though. They have like screens up. They see the police scanners. They can hear what's going on with the police scanners. They're looking at Twitter all day long, but like police channels and things. So that's the main one. Now, a reporter is good to know, especially if your story aligns with their beat. So specific beat would be like healthcare or business or environmental. And so you can pitch the reporter, but also CC the editor assignment editor. So sometimes the reporter, I mean, if they're invested, if it's like they have to cover healthcare, they don't have a lot of stories that like they have to get their stories, then yeah, like pitch that person. And then the assignment editor. So the assignment editor, like the problem with just getting the assignment editor in your back pocket is they might just send a camera, which means a person that mans the camera and they don't have a reporter attached to it. And so if that happens, it's fine, but you'll probably get less coverage. So if there's a reporter there, it's just like a field reporter, not even like assigned to a certain beat. You might get more airtime out of it, and then they might be more invested in making sure it actually runs, because that happens. They'll send a camera out and not run your story. There's nothing you can do about it. But if you've got a reporter, also they have their own following, so they'll probably share it on social, which would be really cool. So it's ideal if you can get a reporter. But a lot of times you can't just like contact with just a regular reporter, but if they're not like assigned to a specific beat, they don't really have a lot of say over what they can do. I mean, they can pitch they would take your idea and pitch it. So it's not up to them. Okay. And so then we've got, and then we have producers. Producers are what kind of like organize the whole show. So that's the one who's pulling your content and dropping it on the cutting room floor. If the news like runs too long and then your like feel good camera 30-second content that the camera person got is getting cut. And it is what it is, but they're not typically a PR contact because they're just sitting there kind of organizing the stories. But if it's for a show that does not have an assignment editor attached to it, so like more entertainment based, then you would pitch the producer and then maybe even your morning feature show guys. And then there's the digital producer. That person's huge. That person's kind of in charge of taking all the content that makes it on TV and putting it on the online channels. Not all of it gets online. And then it also works the other way. Not all of the content that is on the website gets onto TV. So sometimes the digital producer will have their own content. So maybe that's who you want to pitch, because then you don't even have to try and get a camera. And if you just need SEO, maybe that's the person. Okay, those are your top contacts.
Thanks for listening to the PR Talk podcast. Find Amy's book, A Modern Guide to Public Relations, plus more PR Talk episodes at prtalk.co. And remember to subscribe, rate, and review.